The one-to-one collection in Margate is a storage facility with a difference. It's a storage facility for trains. Actual, full-size, historic locomotives and rolling stock. And other vehicles and artefacts, but I'm here for the trains. Normally it's closed to the public, but at the weekend it was opened up for a special 2-day event. This is something I've wanted to get a look at for ages, so naturally I headed down there. The name takes a bit of explaining. The warehouse is attached to the Hornby HQ. Hornby being a model manufacturing company. They are most famous for their 00 scale models, which are built to a scale of 1:76. 1:1, therefore, means full size. We got the train to Ramsgate, and can I just say how much I love this station? I might have to come back and do a video specifically about the station because it is absolutely gorgeous, classic Southern Railway architecture. Anyway, we took the bus from there to the one-to-one collection. The item I was most excited to see was this coach. See, one of my favourite types of locomotive is the London and North Eastern Railway A4s, the masterpiece of Sir Nigel Gresley. The A4s were engines that not only looked fast, but they were fast. Top-link prestige express locomotives. One of them, Mallard, set an unbroken speed record for a steam locomotive in 1938, attaining a speed of 126 miles per hour. Prestige locomotives demanded prestige trains. In 1935, the LNER introduced a train known as the Silver Jubilee, a silver-grey set of luxury articulated coaches hauled by the first batch of A4s. It ran between London and Newcastle. The follow-up was the Coronation, which ran all the way from London to Edinburgh. The name commemorated the coronation of King George VI. Whereas the Silver Jubilee was silver, the Coronation was blue, garter blue specifically, with lighter panels in Marlborough blue. And this carriage is the observation car, which would be on the rear of the train in summer. This kind of streamlining was known as beavertail. The Second World War brought an end to the Coronation, and indeed, for many enthusiasts, this was the end of a golden age of rail travel. Still, the observation cars survived to be used on the West Highland line, albeit rebuilt. Both observation cars made it into preservation. This one has been restored to original condition, and the other is being restored in its rebuilt state. Not that the other coaches aren't worthy of attention. This Somerset and Dorset Railway coach is very worth a look. The Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway was, as its name implies, a joint company. It was owned by the Midland Railway and the London and South Western Railway, running between Bournemouth and Bath in southwest England. Most of it is gone now, closed under Dr. Beeching's sweeping cutbacks in the 1960s, but it's always had a bit of a cult following for its holiday expresses, the variety of locomotives seen there, and the beautiful countryside it ran through. Its engines and carriages were painted in this beautiful Prussian blue. This coach was built in 1886 and was still running in the 1930s. And this here is a North Eastern Railway Directors' Saloon built in 1903. I've become very fond of the North Eastern Railway in recent years, and this year I've made several trips into North Eastern Territory. The NER was formed in 1854 out of a number of other companies. It served the heavy industries of North East England and was also a link in the East Coast Main Line. As such, it was a very wealthy company. Certainly their management seemed to do pretty well out of it, judging by this rather fancy coach. In my recent video on the Greatest Gathering, I mused on the question of how you preserve large multiple units which make up the majority of passenger trains these days. I think this train illustrates the problem. It's a type of electric train known as the Class 405 or 4 sub. 4 sub was a code meaning 4-coach suburban, and that tells you where this was used and what it was used for. This variant of 4 sub was introduced in 1946, although this particular one was built in 1951. It was stored outside for many years, and as you can see, it's badly rusted. It's only in a large facility like this that it can be kept out of the weather, and hopefully its future is a lot brighter now. Now here's a real celebrity, Royal Scot. Or is it? The engine Royal Scot was built in 1927 to a design by Henry Fowler. In 1933, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway were invited to send an engine to the Century of Progress exhibition in Chicago. Rather than send the actual Royal Scot, the LMS decided to send another locomotive of the same class and just tell everyone it was Royal Scot. So the King's Dragoon Guardsman was overhauled to tip-top working condition and swapped its identity with the real Royal Scot. It went to America, came back, and retained its old identity, which it carries to this day, meaning that this engine has been the Royal Scot for far longer than the Royal Scot was the Royal Scot. The Royal Scot class underwent a massive rebuild in the 1940s, nominally under William A. Stanier, but really to the designs of George Ivett and E. S. Cox. So the present-day Royal Scot not only isn't the original Royal Scot, but it looks completely different to how it was originally built. Incidentally, the LMS would later pull the identity switcheroo trick again. Duchess of Hamilton would be renamed Coronation for an American tour in 1939. Although the names did get swapped back, and Duchess of Hamilton is definitely Duchess of Hamilton. This is Raveningham Hall, one of the Great Western Railway's modified hall class, designed by Frederick Hawkesworth, built in 1944. In my Greatest Gathering video, I showed you Hagley Hall. The modified halls were a modified version of that type of engine, and like that type of engine, they were very versatile. This one became a bit of a celebrity in 1975 when it took part in the 150th anniversary celebrations for the Stockton and Darlington Railway, and the Greatest Gathering was the 200th anniversary, so I guess we're just going in circles here. Here's a Deltic. Now, I'm not much of a diesel guy, but I do like the Deltics. They are officially known as English Electric Type 5s, or Class 55s, but everyone calls them Deltics. The name comes from the Napier Deltic power units that they carry, and it was also the name given to the prototype locomotive. These were designed to replace express steam engines like the LNER A4s on the East Coast Main Line and were introduced in 1961. Now, the early diesels were a bit of a mixed bag, but the Deltics were a massive success. They were the most powerful single-unit diesel locomotives in the world when they were introduced, and they regularly exceeded a speed of 100 miles per hour. The only major downsides to them were that they were non-standard, and they were quite expensive to run. They got displaced by Intercity 125 units in the late 70s and were scrapped in the early 80s, apart from 6 survivors. They have a lot of fans in the rail enthusiast community, and it's easy to understand why. They're fast, powerful, good-looking, and distinctive. And loud. This is a weird one for me, because I remember when these were new. This is the Class 373 Eurostar, or at least a locomotive and one of the carriages. These are basically a French TGV unit designed to work in Britain, to operate the Channel Tunnel service. Actually, in France, they're known as the Series 373,000 TGV. Or, the same in French. They were something of a compromise. High-speed trains designed to be able to operate on the distinctly low-speed commuter lines of the south of England, which was something that was highly criticised at the time. I well remember seeing these trains lined up in Waterloo Station. In 2003, the first section of the High Speed 1 route opened, and these trains quickly showed what they were capable of, with Unit 373313/314 setting a British rail speed record of 208 miles per hour. When the full line opened in 2007, the first revenue-earning train managed to cover the journey from Paris to London St Pancras in 2 hours and 4 minutes, another record. Many of them are still in service, although with the introduction of the Class 374s, some have been withdrawn, hence what you see here. Behind the Eurostar is this Great Western Railway 4200 tank engine, which is basically the opposite of a Eurostar. These were powerful engines built to haul heavy coal trains in South Wales. The requirements of those lines were very specific. A really big engine wouldn't be able to deal with the tight curves, so designer George Jackson Churchward had to come up with something that was powerful but also relatively compact. The compromise was that they had to have small water tanks to accommodate a wide boiler, meaning that they tended to get quite thirsty and had to stop for water frequently. That aside, they were a successful design. This particular one was built in 1919 and lasted in service until 1962. The final engine I'd like to look at is this South Eastern and Chatham Railway P class. I love these little engines. They were originally built to haul passenger trains, but they were only able to handle very light trains. Therefore, they found themselves used as shunters. Only 8 were ever built, but 4 survive into preservation, which I think is pretty impressive. This particular one was built in 1910. It worked in several locations, including, appropriately, a brief stint at Margate during the First World War. In 1958 it was sold to Bowater's paper mill, which meant that it outlasted steam on the national network. There it gained the name of Pioneer 2, which is what it's often known as today. In 1969 it was sold to the Bluebell Railway. It's currently out of service, hence its position here. It never actually hauled the Atlantic Coast Express. This isn't everything there is to see at the one-to-one collection, not even close. As I say, the collection is not yet fully open to the public, but I understand the long-term aim is to make it a museum that's regularly accessible to the likes of you and me. It's attached to the Hornby Wonderworks, and between the two of them they make a pretty good day out. My only major criticism of the event was the catering, where they seem to have been really taken by surprise by the number of people there. I'd also say that without the one-to-one collection, the Hornby Visitor Centre wouldn't have been worth the journey for me. It's really not a very big exhibition. If you live locally, though, definitely pop in. Entry to the Visitor Centre is free. Those things aside, though, it was very cool to see these artefacts, big and small. I think the idea of a museum for engines that are currently out of traffic is a great one, and I can see this becoming a top railway attraction when it fully opens. I'll certainly be back when it does. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more. I would like, as always, to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous support. You are the covered storage to my rusting multiple unit. And I will see you all again very soon. Cheerio.